Russell Wilson, he is looking for his first win on this season under head coach Sean Payton, and really his first win in general. Next up for the Broncos, it's a game against the Commanders. I must remind you, Commanders were in a dogfight with the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona Cardinals, y'all, are trying to lose. Yep. They're not even trying to win games. This is the storyline that will permeate the entirety of the season. Y'all lock in for it. Russell Wilson, how long is his leash? Is his job on the line this weekend, James?
No, his job is not on the line this weekend. This is only week 2, and he's making 200-something million. So for me, I at least got to give him 4 games, right? And I don't even really want to say he played good. I watched the whole game against the Raiders. I mean, he was checking the ball down 24/7, but his completions look good. You know, so did they still score the same amount of points they scored last year? Absolutely. Did they still lose like they were losing last year by 1-score games? They did. So Russell Wilson is not necessarily making his team better. Now, he's not necessarily losing the game for him, turning the football over and things like that. So I don't think Coach Sean Payton has really anything to stand on right now to say, hey, this is why I'm taking him out.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? He has to come out there and make some mistakes out there and lose it because his mistakes. Then you can go up there and talk to the media and say, you know what, we're going to go in a different direction. But I at least give him 4 games. But like Shady, how's the leash on Zach Wilson, Shady?
Short.
Short. You know, so I at least give him 4 games, man.
Where you stand on it, Joy?
Yeah, there's no chance it's on the line. Not this weekend. It's week 2. I mean, it didn't look great last week, but I kind of tend to agree. It's just, it was just okay. Like, it wasn't like, damn, it was so bad. You've got to take him out. And we've seen plenty of those performances. Zach Wilson has had some of the most performances.
Yes, he do. That's good.
Yeah, for sure. So it's not there yet. And for the amount of money that he's making, and honestly, like I said, and I've said this, and this is the last time I'm going to say it because we'll be in week 2, we saw a lot of bad ball in week 1 for all over the league. There were some really bad performances, way worse than Russell Wilson, actually, by guys that we have expectations of this year. So I can't get too crazy about him losing his job this weekend. Now, look, it depends on how it looks.
Yeah.
If it is a disaster, that conversation is going to tick up very quickly. But I'm with James. I think it's going to take 4 or 5 games of really poor play or just no acceleration in the offense because it didn't look mistake-filled. It didn't look like they didn't know what they were doing, which they did at times last year. It just didn't look, wasn't inspiring.
Well, it's not explosive.
It didn't look like, it's not explosive. It's not like it's not something that you feel good about.
2-5, I think Russ's job is on the line.
This week?
This week?
Yeah. I think it's on the line because I think Sean Payton is looking for a way out. I love me some Russell Wilson. Y'all know that, personally and professionally. But we've all been in these situations. I'll give you a couple of them. We've been at the club, and you're like, man, if the DJ played one bad song, I'm gone. Like, the second he played one thing that's not a vibe, like, you're waiting for the DJ to play something so you can leave because you know you're already tired. You know what I'm saying? I think that's where Sean Payton is. Like, Russ, just give me one reason. Give me one reason to bench you. My friend was telling me about her homegirl who told her that she accidentally got into a relationship.
Accidentally.
I said, how she
happens.
I said, how'd she accidentally get into a relationship? She said, I don't know, I was talking to this dude. He asked me to be his girlfriend, and I just mumbled over some words. I'm in a relationship. My friend asked her, well, what are you gonna do? She said, I'm just going to wait for him to mess up, blow it out of proportion, and I'm going to end it. Wow. I think that's where Sean Payton is with Russell Wilson. I'm just going to wait for him to mess up, blow it out of proportion, and then I'm going to end it.
It ain't even got to be a mess up like that. It could be like, man, look, you come home with food, you ain't bring me nothing. I'm done.
I'm done.
That's how bad it is.
I'm done. You don't think about nobody but yourself. I could be here starving all day.
Correct. And that's where, like, last week, Russ didn't do that.
Right.
I think 16 for 19, whatever the case may be. Like, he didn't do that. But let Russ give Sean Payton a reason, 2-5. Let Russ give Sean Payton one reason. I think Sean Payton might be done with it.
I'm just used to, like, the easy stuff. Like, you know what, baby, you're great. It's not you. It's me. That was my line. But I guess, you know, anyway.
New kids.
I'm going to say no. Not yet. I think Russ is at a point where, first, the money does matter. New coach. It's only week 2. Right? And then we talk about explosion. They didn't look super explosive, but Jerry Jeudy didn't play either. I think he's probably their most explosive wide receiver. He's going to play this week. I think they get a win at home. They bounce back to be 1-1, and then you keep moving forward. I don't think it's a point where it's like, yo, we got to get rid of him. It's that point we got to send him on the bench. Where last year he had some moments where, yeah, you're Russ. I'm surprised they didn't bench you. Right, so I think he still has some grace period. It's only week 2. I mean,
let me ask a question for the desk, James, and you can take the first stab at it. I think if Russell Wilson plays a game in week 2, like Josh Allen played in week 1, like Joe Burrow played in week 1, like Kenny Pickett played in week 1 and like Daniel Jones played in week 1.
I think Ryan Tannehill in there too, because we'd be forgetting about him.
Like I think if Russell Wilson plays a game like any of those individuals played in week 1, I think he would get benched in the game. Like if he has a 4-turnover Josh Allen joint, if he's looking crazy like Daniel Jones, no points. If he throws for 82 yards, like if he has any of those performances, I think by the third quarter with 6 minutes left, Sean Payton's gonna be like,
that's a good point though.
Like think about it. If he got 4 turnovers, Payton not just gonna stand there and hit with his Hall of Fame behind and say, keep going, Russ. Like speak on that.
That's a good point.
I mean, I agree because from the standpoint of this, you can't be making all this money and you not the reason why we winning. Like you at one point, we can't just say, hey, manage this game and score 16 and score 17 and let our defense go. Like, you making too much money for that. You know, at one point, if the Russell Wilson that got this contract is not going to show up, then it's time to move on. And you're right. He's not Josh Allen. Josh Allen ain't on no leash, whether he throw 5 interceptions in the game, whatever. If Russell Wilson comes out there, he already was super conservative the first game, and you lost to the Raiders. Now you talking about you going to lose to the Commanders? And possibly throw 3 interceptions or whatnot. If he does that in the game, yes, that's what Sean Payton is sitting on that sideline waiting for. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, good, that's one. Oh, yeah, I don't even know where he was trying to go with the ball, too. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah, that's 2. Yeah. Let him get ready.
Let's stay in the AFC West because the Chiefs, they opened the season with the loss against the Lions at home. Patrick Mahomes was 5-0 in his career in Week 1 games. However, Travis Kelce, friend of the show, he's going to be back. Chris Jones, friend of the show, he gonna be back Sunday against the Jags. So, Joy, let me start with you on this one because now I'm curious. It's like the Chiefs lost last week. Would you already classify this game against the Jags team that they beat in the playoffs, but the Jags were scraping at their heels in that playoff game? Would you classify this Chiefs game Sunday as a must-win?
You know how I feel about must-wins.
Must.
And later on in the show, we'll talk about a team that I do think is in a must-win situation, but I don't think it's the Chiefs, no. Now, again, in the AFC, I do think that these early losses might cost you later on in the season. Like, we might be looking back on Week 1 and Week 2 losses in the AFC, and it could dock somebody their home field advantage, you know, where they're ranked for the playoffs, those type of things. But I can't say it's a must-win situation. Also, I mean, like, Chris Jones and Kelce are back. The Chiefs are favored. Like, I can't look at this game as a must-win game because they have so much equity with me that even if they did lose this game, it's going to take so much for me to think that this is falling apart and going off the rails to commit to that take. I can't look at it as a must-win.
And I agree with George just because of I know who that coach is, right? And I know in the coach, I know who that quarterback is. And you always have a chance. You know, we talked about Joe Burrow having thrown for 82 yards, not looking good. Last year, they started 0-2, and they still made it happen. And we all said, you know what? We would never panic on Joe Burrow and the Bengals. Yeah. They can win games. Well, if the Bengals can, you think the Chiefs can? Better quarterback, better offensive coach, better head coach? Why not? Yeah. So if any team I'm picking not to panic, and it's not a must-win game, it's the Chiefs. And then the last thing is Kelce's coming back. Now he was injured, so he got to knock some of that rust off. This is part of it. Chris Jones knocks some of that rust off because he's been gone. And small things like that we're not even thinking about is the conditioning. Yeah, he's conditioned, but he's not game conditioned. You know that feeling where, but once he gets it going, though, they'll be back in shape. So it's hard for me to see the Chiefs not at the top of the charts.
Yeah, this is not a must-win for me strictly because Patty Mahomes, Andy Reid, they used to doing this stuff. You know what I'm saying?
They doing it.
AFC champions how many times at the crib? A lot. Right. So for me, Joe Burrow had everybody out there. Starting unit was out there. They looked trash. Justin Fields had everybody out there. Starting unit was out there. They looked trash. Right. Deshaun Watson had everybody out there. Starting unit out there. They didn't look that good, even though they won the football game. They ain't even had a chance to have everybody out there.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So now you got to show me you're going to be bad with your dudes out there first before I start talking about must win. This is the first time you're going to have the whole squad together to go out here and compete and show, hey, this is why we won the Super Bowl last year, right? So ain't no must win for me. This is what they do, even if they lose this game. I mean, it's Patty Mahomes and Andy Reid.
Here's my thought process, though, ladies and gents. My thought process is, what about the shine? The reason I would argue it's a must-win, or at least I hope they win, is because to me, you can beat a team, and I've said this before they even step on the field. I recall the nearest parallel I can draw to what the Chiefs are doing right here and right now is what Alabama was doing in college for so long.
Yeah.
Like what Alabama was doing in college, before you ever saw Alabama on the field, they would beat you beforehand. I recall, Shady, I was playing against Alabama national championship game. I was watching on the networks. Trent Richardson squats 700 pounds Friday before games. Meanwhile, I'm like, bro, I only squat 495. So what happened when I meet him? Like, before I ever saw him, I was like, oh, man, Alabama. But then, if y'all recall, that was how everybody treated Alabama. Till Trevor Lawrence and Clemson went and knocked them boys around. Then Georgia went and knocked them boys around. And now Texas just went to Alabama and knocked them boys around. They lost their luster. Only reason I would surmise it could be a must-win is because last year when the Chiefs lost to the Colts, fumble punt, Chris Jones, BS penalty. Right? It's like, oh, that didn't count. Chiefs lost to the Lions. Chris Jones didn't play. Travis Kelce didn't play. That don't count, right? Even national analysts are saying there was an asterisk by it. We vehemently disagreed. But if they lose with Chris Jones here, with Travis Kelce here, to a team they'll likely see in the playoffs, then you just might lose a little bit of that intimidation that they've had for 3 to 4 years now.
And that's why, like, the college to NFL parallel works for some things, but not all things, because I have a very hard time believing that even if they start 0-2, I don't know who they play week 3, that team is going to be like, we got them.
The Bears.
They don't.
They got that Justin Fields. Better watch out now.
They don't got him. They don't got him. Nobody is going to go into any game with the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes assuming that they have the upper hand.
Not the upper hand.
Or that they are vulnerable. Now listen, it's the NFL. So every player, you all played, you will be on teams where you know you're probably going to lose. Yeah. But that's, I mean, you as a player going out there to lose, and you know, even if they're the greatest or one of the greatest, they still got to see you. We still have a squad. We're still out here prepared. We know things can go badly during the game. You get one interception, one fumble, one big play, one explosive play, and the whole game is turned around. So that's always the case. The Chiefs have been vulnerable. The Chiefs haven't won every Super Bowl since Patrick Mahomes has come in the league. So I don't subscribe to their losing their luster. And I also don't think that they're going to play as bad offensively as they did in that game against the Lions.
That's right.
All this talk about how much they struggled, they lost by 1 point. They lost by 1 point and didn't have 2 of their best 3 players. They win 80% of the games that they play with Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, and Travis Kelce.
But for me,
that's still pretty dominant to me.
Yeah, no doubt. And for me, it's all about how you look. I've been on football teams to where we was 10-6 and we got it rolling at the end of the year and we won the Super Bowl. I done been on teams to where we was 15-1 and the last 3 games we won, but we looking at that film like, boy, we ain't that good.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we ain't playing how we was playing early in the season. So for me, the goal for the Chiefs is the Super Bowl. The goal for the Chiefs is not to be 1-1 or, you know, whatever that may be, 3. The goal for them is the Super Bowl. So for them, whenever or however they get it together, it's just about playing the right way that they want to be at during the season because they are chasing championships.
And having that, like you talked about, just playing them, like, are you nervous because of what it is? And you said people might not look at them the same, but it's hard to say that because I remember with the Patriots, like, their teams weren't super talented, but they did have...
12.
At the time, they had that coach, but they really had that quarterback. And every time with the Eagles or I was with the Bills, we playing the Patriots. Like, it's the Patriots. And I feel like nowadays that's the Chiefs.
Did there ever come a point, because there came points with me facing the Seahawks, 2013, the year I think they went to or won the Super Bowl.
They went. They
went to it. Yep. We saw the Seahawks, Shady. Well, first we saw the Saints in the playoffs. Yeah. And we saw the Saints in the playoffs at home. And I was like, man, even if we beat the Saints, good luck. We got our hands full. Next year, we have to play the Seahawks. We have to play the Cowboys, Seahawks, Cowboys. We have them back to back to back. If we win those 3 games, we go to the playoffs. If we lose 2 of them, we don't go. We end up beating the Cowboys at home in Dallas, like 30-6. Shout out Mark Sanchez. Then we lose to the Cowboys, and we lose to the Seahawks. Seahawks, I was like, ooh. But then the next year, I was like, and these Seahawks ain't that. And then the next year after, I was like, oh, these Seahawks ain't that Seahawks. Yeah. Now, to y'all's points, Mahomes is still Mahomes. Yeah. But I do wonder if defenses are like, wait a second, Kadarius Toney ain't Tyreek Hill, he ain't even Juju. He ain't even Juju.
But-
So that's my only thought
and,
process.
and that's a really good point, and that's why I say for the Chiefs, it's about playing and looking the right way. Because you get that type confidence going up against Patrick Mahomes when you watching the tape and like, oh yeah, that ain't Patty from last year. Oh yeah, they don't look like the Chiefs from last year. You know what I'm saying? Like on the film,
That tape,
like
yeah,
that's
you're
where
right.
you get your confidence from. You go out to practice like, oh, these boys is beatable, right? Years past is like, oh, boy, you see Patty on that film? These boys ain't really beatable with Patty. Like, so that's why for them, I'm like, it's all about looking the right way because that's how teams go. That's how Jacksonville and Cincinnati gonna get their confidence when they turn on the tape like, oh, they ain't like that. Patty missing throws, Patty ain't seeing, or, Travis Kelce can't get open no more. That's where you get your confidence from. So that's why for them, they chasing championships. It's just about being where you want to be, looking the right way at whatever they goal is during the season where they want to look like the Chiefs are Super Bowl contenders, then they need to figure that out.
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.